This is a short video tour of the Street Medical Building. This is the waiting area. And as you see on the walls, people have written graffiti while waiting. Interesting graffiti from the 30s to about 1951, when my physician uncle moved his practice from here to about 3 miles away. Very interesting graffiti. There originally was a wood stove here in the center of the floor. Moving along, bottle storage and a window in a little hall anyway. My uncle, my grandfather, my great-grandfather apparently threw nothing away. All the bottles are here, all the literature, all the medical journals, all the letter from patients from the mid-1800s to the 1950s are here. The part of the office that we entered in was built in the 1930s, added on. The room. This is my grandfather, M.E. Street Sr. as a young man. And this actually is his son, M.E. Street Jr., a lab coat from medical school in the 1930s. This is my grandfather, M.E. Street Sr., about 1913-14. We'll move into another area here. This is another medication storage area. Part of the 1930s edition. As you see, these walls have not been painted. There is an exam table here, probably from the early 1900s, I would guess. Before we go into the original room, the 1820s building, it was built originally as a law office. This is the interior of it. My family moved here in the late 1800s, and this became a medical office. This was the original building, built in the 1820s. And I think it has the original paint on the walls and the ceiling. And I'm pretty sure that this wall over here was not painted when my great-grandfather moved into here as a physician, because behind the bottles on the wall is graffiti written there. So probably during some period before they moved over here and added on and remodeled it in the 1820s, 1840s, probably 1860s when they came over here. These shelves were just put up on top of the wall with the graffiti. This is the original door. And actually, I found a lock set that fits exactly on that original 1820s door. But as you can see, this is quite a period room from its original 1820s building design. This is an exam table from the late 1800s. Floors are the original floors. Floors in the quote new edition that was done in the 1930s was actually, the floor was completely replaced, and some of the walls that had some termite damage were reinforced. the siding interior boards taken off and put back on and underpinned. So the building is very substantial. Moving down the hall, we will go into the main exam room. This was the main examination room. And actually all the medical records from my uncle's practice from the late 1930s until the 1980s is here, plus my grandfather's from the late 1890s until 1942, plus I expect there is some of my great-grandfather's medical records in here. I know there are many of his memo books where he recorded home visits and what he did, who it was, how much the medication was, and how much they owed him, and things about a lot of people worked off their debt on the farm. So this actually is the pharmacy, the medication room. It was quite common for country physicians in those days to dispense their own medications. My grandfather trained one of his daughters to mix up, compound the medications. And when that daughter got old enough and moved off and got married or whatever, he would train another one. My mother was actually probably the last of the daughters actually trained to be a on-the-job trained pharmacist basically here. And all the medications and supplies until 1951 when my uncle moved up to a different location. But when he died in the 1980s, all of his stuff came back to me, so a lot of it, most of it is actually here with everything else. So it's quite a historical property here for Moore County to have all this basically intact. So we are through with our doctor visit. So we will leave the building now. Thank you.